Hello and welcome to today's English speaking podcast. I'm Dania, and today's podcast focuses on procrastination. So, we will be speaking about procrastination, like what is actually the meaning. Alright, this is number one. Number two, I will show you other words, like other new words that you can use when speaking about procrastination. Alright, the thing is that I actually wanted to focus on explaining another grammar topic, but because I haven't basically been uploading any videos lately, and the reason is related to procrastination, as I would say. So that is why I was like thinking, why don't I just speak about procrastination with all of you? Maybe we can share some experiences related to procrastination, because in this podcast I will be sharing my own experience with you. All right? So let's start. So what is actually procrastination? It is when you actually delay or put off doing tasks that you need to do. Let's say you have some work to do. Maybe you have some homework, maybe you have some projects to do, but you just keep on you just keep on delaying them. Like you just keep on telling yourself, "Oh, it's okay. I will do it later." And when later comes, you tell yourself, no, 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 I will do it tomorrow or maybe the day after. And in this case, you start delaying, and or you can even say procrastinating. So procrastinating when you keep on delaying your work without specific reason. Alright, so this is the meaning of it. Now let's have a look at other words that you can actually use when speaking about procrastination. The second word is a delay. So a delay here when to make something happen later than it should. So as I told you, when you delay doing your work, that means you're putting off your work for some other times. And the reason is not really like logical. It's not really like a strong reason. So maybe because the work is not really interesting, or maybe because you are not really in the mood to do your work, things like that. So in this case, you keep on delaying. We have task. You can actually use task to talk about a piece of work or something you need to do but you don't do. All right, so again, when it comes to speaking about procrastinations, you can use task in your conversation. Now let's have a look at another word. We have a deadline, and this is a very important word to be used when speaking about procrastination, because it refers to the time or date by which something must be done. What does that mean? Let's say you have some homework or some projects that you need to complete on specific days, alright? But because of that, like maybe because the project is not really an interesting one, so you keep on delaying. And when the deadline comes, like when the day of submitting the project comes, like then you start experiencing some feeling of guilt, some maybe some negative emotions and things like that. Why? Because of the deadline. Distraction is a big factor. Why? Because it takes your attention away from what you are supposed to be doing. So let's say you need to focus on completing your project, but because of your phone, maybe you keep on receiving notifications from your friends, maybe like messages on WhatsApp, on Instagram, on different kinds of social platforms that distract your attention. So instead of focusing on completing your project, you end up checking your phone. So this is one way of being distracted. Another word is overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is related to experiencing some difficulties on when you feel that you have a lot to do. So, as you see on this picture, the girl is basically overwhelmed with a lot of books, papers, maybe she's going through exam periods, things like that. So, when we are overwhelmed, we feel like we have a lot to do and we don't have enough time to finish everything. And in this case, we feel overwhelmed. We feel like, oh my gosh, we have a lot to do, but when are we supposed to finish all of this? When is it possible to finish? So, this is the meaning of overwhelmed. And when we are overwhelmed, the feeling of guilt happens. What does that mean? It's actually the feeling of doing something wrong or not doing what you should have done. Let me simplify the idea. So basically, when you are overwhelmed, you start feeling guilty. You start blaming yourself for not starting your project a bit early. So in this case, you start saying things like, why didn't I start early? Why did I keep on postponing? Why didn't I push myself? So this is the feeling of guilt. It's like you start blaming yourself for not doing what you should have done. Why does the feeling of guilt start? Because of the opportunity. What does that mean? The opportunity is a chance to do something, especially something that could be good for you. So, when you feel guilty for not doing or completing your work, you feel like you missed the opportunity, you missed the chance for not completing your work on time. So, this is what I meant by the opportunity. All right. So, let's start with the reasons. What are the reasons? Reason number one, fear of failure. What does that mean? Sometimes we are afraid of not doing well, so we avoid the task. So, in this case, when you are afraid of failing, like let's say, for example, you have a test, all right, but you are so scared of studying for the test. And in this case, because of being so scared, you start avoiding the subject. So whenever you decide to study, or maybe whenever you look at the textbook, you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to study right now. Let's delay it, like maybe to some other time. And so in this case, when you keep on delaying for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, why? Because of just being so scared, like being so afraid of failing. And this is basically one of the reasons that can be related to procrastination. Reason number two, lack of a motivation. Lack of motivation when we don't feel like doing it right now. That means you are not really interested. You don't have the motivation, you don't have the energy, you don't have the maybe the power to start studying, for example. Why? Because simply you're not interested, and this is related to lack of motivation. No motivation to start studying, or maybe you don't have the motivation to work on a project, or you don't have the motivation to do any of the things that you have to do. All right. The other reason is related to feeling overwhelmed. So, when the task seems too big and we don't know where to start. So, let's say, for example, you have to study for a test, and maybe you have, like, let's say, 3 chapters to study. But because you haven't started studying yet, maybe the subject is too is too difficult for you, or maybe you're not really interested, or maybe you don't know from where you should start. Do you need to start from chapter 1, or maybe you need to start from chapter 3 and go back to chapter 2 and 1, or it's like you feel like you are confused. All right, so this is basically related to being overwhelmed. So when you are in that feeling, when you are facing or experiencing that situation, you feel like you are not actually in the mood to start studying at all, and you simply like close your book and maybe go and do something else. But you know that feeling when avoid them? So this is actually the meaning of being overwhelmed. So what happens over time? If we keep procrastinating, we can miss important opportunities, meaning that when you delay your work, you start rushing to simply finish things up very quickly without caring about the quality of your work. And in this case, you might miss opportunity. Maybe you might miss the chance of getting good grades, maybe the chance of being promoted, maybe the chance of getting a better job, things like that. And this is all happens because of procrastination. It also affects our confidence. So we start to doubt ourselves, and this makes it even more difficult to start. So, in this case, when you are trying to delay your work, or maybe let's say trying to run away from the responsibility, after a while you start questioning your confidence. You start saying, am I actually able to do it? Do I have the confidence? Do I have the ability? And then you feel like, no, 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 I am not really able to do this work. And when you start like convincing yourself for not being able, you will automatically start thinking negatively, and that will definitely attract some negative emotions, which might lead to being stressed and even having some anxiety and more health problems. And now the big question comes, which is how to beat procrastination, how to avoid procrastination. Here I would like to share some steps that can help you to like to protect yourself from being procrastinated. Step number one is to start small, meaning that break the task into smaller parts. If you need to write a long report, for example, just start by writing maybe one sentence, and it is easier to keep going once you have started. So, really, guys, like this can actually help you a lot. What do I mean by start small? Let's say, for example, you have maybe an essay to write, okay? And you have no idea how to start writing your first sentence. Usually, when we have to write an essay, we start like panicking, wondering how to start, and things like that. So, what you can do, just start writing the first sentence, like which is subject, verb, and object. Let's say, for example, the topic of the essay is about the importance of education. All right, and you have no idea how to start writing the first sentence. So in this case, you can say, education is important for everyone. This is one sentence. And from this sentence, you can somehow break it down into points. So before starting with your writing, you can just brainstorm your ideas. So now you have the idea, which is education is important for everyone. Now you need to break it down into smaller parts. Start brainstorming your ideas. You will be able to start thinking about how to write your essay. So the same thing goes to projects, like other projects that you need to do. Really, like you just need to start with small steps. Seriously, like break it into small steps, and trust me, once you do that, you will start feeling a bit like motivated, and then your motivational level starts increasing a bit by bit by bit. Seriously, just try it, and trust me, you will find yourself going on, really. The second thing can be, you need to set a time. So instead of saying, I will do it later, Set a specific time. For example, I will work on this on this task from 10 to 11 a.m. Or maybe from let's say the task is really too long, all right, and it is not possible to finish it in 1 hour. As I mentioned, break it into small parts. So try to finish one part within maybe 1 hour, or maybe half an hour if possible. So set the timer according to the task. If that you don't need to like break your task into big parts, just small parts. And trust me, small parts with the timer. So let's say, for example, you set the time for maybe half an hour. After half an hour, you take a break for 10 minutes, and then come back to continue like writing or working for another half an hour, and then take a break for for maybe 10 minutes, things like that. So this is how you can start managing yourself. Another thing is related to the distractions that we always get. So what should we do? You can actually turn off your phone, or maybe move to a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. So if you feel that your phone can somehow disturb you and distract your attention, just set it on a silent mode, or maybe turn it off, alright? Or maybe if you feel that it is not possible for you to study at home, you can maybe go somewhere else. So basically, you need to find your own peace, alright? Because this is really, really important. Then the rewarding part comes. So after completing a small task, give yourself a little reward, like maybe a snack, or maybe a short break, or something you really enjoy. Like, for example, for me, after recording this video, I am actually going to reward myself with a cup of coffee, because I actually enjoy drinking coffee so much. So, and as I told you in the beginning, of the video, that I have actually been procrastinating quite a lot. So, for completing this video, I am actually going to drink a cup of coffee. Why? Because I want to reward myself for doing something for you. And the same thing goes to you. Do something that really enjoy it. Maybe let's say if you like playing games, then play games after completing your work. If you prefer maybe eating some snacks, then do that. If you prefer going out for a walk, do that. Like, do whatever makes you happy, but after completing your work. So this is really important. Staying consistent. What does that mean? The more you practice starting tasks right away, the easier it becomes to stop procrastinating. Meaning that once you get a task, start immediately. Okay, maybe you are too busy to start immediately. Maybe you can start the day after, or maybe you can start like in the evening of that particular day. I mean, something like that. So you don't need to delay the process of your task. So in this case, once you get into this particular habit, it will be easier with time. And really, I have actually a friend who said something like, if I need to if I need to start a new habit, it will basically take about 28 days, maybe to 40 days, for that habit to be part of my life. So the same thing goes to you. To be consistent, start working on that for about maybe 40 days, right? Or 28. Actually, I'm not exactly sure if it is 28 days or 40 days. Please correct me on the comment section. But seriously, you just need to be consistent. You need to keep on practicing this particular process every day. And really, with time, everything will be okay. And trust me, procrastination affects all of us. but with small steps, we can learn to overcome it. Because the thing is that we need to be patient. Overcoming procrastination will never happen overnight. It takes days and sometimes even maybe months, alright, but not really for a long period of time. Maybe just a few days, maybe 1 month, 2 months, but with consistency it can even be less than that. So really you just need to keep on practicing, be consistent with your task, and be patient. So this is how you can actually overcome procrastination. So yeah, this is basically everything related to procrastination. I really hope today's English speaking podcast is really helpful. So, and also please let me know in the comments like your experience. Like, I would love to read about your experience with procrastination. Like, what kind of experience have you got, and how you managed, like how you managed to overcome that, if you did, and if you are still working on that, feel free to share your experience as well. And so basically, yeah, as I said, like, thank you so much for joining today's English speaking podcast. I'm actually planning to focus more on different kinds of speaking topics. I'm sure those who are going back to work, or those who are going back to their studies, so that is why, like, I felt maybe it's a good time for me to start working on procrastination, to start speaking on this topic, because as I said, this topic actually affects all of us. So for the upcoming videos, please let me know what kind of other topics you want me to speak about. And because I'm actually thinking of focusing more on motivational topics. However, if you have your own ideas, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. So in this case, I wish you a wonderful day, and have a great time, and talk to you very soon, hopefully very soon, because I am actually working on overcoming procrastination too. And now I think it's time for me to have my cup of coffee as a reward for completing this video. So thanks again for listening and even watching this podcast. Have a great day once again, and talk to you soon. Bye.